Okay, I think that's pretty good. Cool, yeah. Thanks. So this is a story from my teenage years, and so as a disclaimer, don't judge too harshly. I had a lot of anger issues as I was growing up, and it diffused into my teenage years, and where eventually I found a home in the punk rock scene of the 1990s, late 1990s in Washington, D.C., where I could commiserate with other miserable and angry teenagers and 20-somethings. And so as the story goes, I found myself at a show whose theme, oddly enough, was to raise awareness about police brutality, which is something that we see a lot of still. Go figure. So anyhow, this show was jam-packed with bands and speakers and anyhow, so this show was going well and everything, and about halfway through the show, the DC police they came into this establishment on the grounds that there was underage alcohol consumption going on, and so being the rebellious gaggle of teenagers that we were, we had refused because they were there to kick everybody out. And so we refused, and so we had all locked arms, and we had all started chanting, "We're not going to go." And, well, the D.C. police has very little patience for these kind of shenanigans, and so they started removing people physically, and this scene of chaos ensued, and they're throwing people out, and there's people yelling, there's people screaming, cops are throwing people, and it's just carnage. And it came to my turn to be thrown across the room. And so I got tossed across this room, and I'm on the ground, and in this flash of insanity and malt liquor-driven self-defense, I pulled out of my pocket this 3-inch bladed pocket knife and proceeded to brandish the blade towards an officer, who proceeded to pull out his firearm. "Drop the knife!" Oops. I quickly dropped that knife. And I felt the arms grabbing me and pulling me down on the ground and then up the stairs and out into the street. And I'm looking around. What just happened? I just walked away from something that could have gone horribly, horribly wrong. And to this day, I still don't know what I was possibly going to do with that thing. It was just pure insanity. And so anyhow, I didn't walk far enough because I continued to stay at this peaceful protest that was going on outside of this establishment, where a bunch of kids were just kind of hanging out and just hanging out. And so eventually I got to my wit's end, and I was just like, fuck this. This is ridiculous. I want action. I want payback. And so I went to a squad car and proceeded to unleash the contents of my bladder onto its hood. And so I'm doing this, and I hear from behind me, "What are you doing?" And at this point, my fight is gone. I'm done. I'm like, all right, whatever. And so I just start stumbling across the street very casually. And again, I feel another hand grabbing me and saying, "What are you doing? Now I have to take you downtown." I'm like, "What are you doing? You people are animals, treating humans like this, kids like this, you know?" And he was like, "Whatever." And I was like, "Whatever." And so I went to jail that night, not for a Class A felony, but for a misdemeanor of public urination. And looking back on this, 17 years later, I'm so blessed to be here today, because my life is so very different. My life is so very different. That anger is diffused, that anger has long since dissipated, although there's inklings of it still there, but we all have that, right? And my life is about serving others, and is about doing good, and about doing something to give back. And it feels good. It feels really good to do something worthwhile, given my past. And I do things my own way, but I encourage all of us, despite our backgrounds, despite whatever it is that we have, to give back and to our communities and to our land that provides us food and sustenance, and just to continue giving because it's the right thing to do. And I'm so blessed to be here sharing this ridiculous story with you. And I almost regretted choosing this story, but it was the first one that came to mind, and so I stuck with it. But in any case, I hope you all enjoy the rest of the evening. So, blessings.